Paul, you've had a bit more time to reflect on Saturday's performance. What were the positives you were taking out of the game at Walsall?
I think we controlled quite a lot of the game, and that's partly down to how we've played, partly sort of opposition's tactics as well. But to go away from home, like I said, dominate the ball in general. Just a slow start, I think, from us. Although I think we forced a corner really early, but after that, it took us 10-15 minutes to sort of eradicate some silly mistakes that invited some attempts at our goal. And after that, like I said, I thought first half lots of the ball, but not kind of a good enough tempo. Second half, certainly, I thought we were much better and looked like we were going to take 3 points. In truth, I said a bit of bad looking in the sort of the end part of their goal. A couple of things we could have done better, like I said. But in the main, I think we would be the happier in terms of the two teams. But we want to try and take them 3 points when feel we're in the ascendancy as we were.
And now just looking into tomorrow's game against Manchester City U21s, you alluded after the game that you might be bringing some players in for some minutes. One might be Rakeel Pike, who you've been easing back after a pre-season injury. How are you seeing his progression at the minute?
Yeah, look, I think in training you can see he's looking sharper, looking better. Still think that he needs to be exposed to them game minutes and playing as we currently are, one up front. That can be quite a tough ask anyway, and probably will not always, but be a regular sort of change that we make, I would suggest, if the sort of situation in the matches dictate that, if we're not going to go to two up front, for example. But just want to keep him fit now, realistically. He'd start pre-season. I think we've, like a lot of the new players, could tell that needed a little bit more work than probably a lot of the ones that we'd had here last season. And had scored a couple of goals in his first outing, I think an assist in the second one. So it was a nice little start for him. So a shame that he couldn't build on that, but hopefully, can keep him fit now and he can start to show what he can do.
You played two up front for at the start of pre-season, then injuries did hit. Do you have a set sort of system in mind as what you'd like to start matches with, or is it just horses for courses?
I think we kind of discuss this as almost as a club, and you have ideas, but until you start really working with the players, that can then have an impact on what you want to do. Injuries to Donovan and Rakeel kind of robbed us pre-season of any thought of persisting with that, so we kind of had to change to sort of the one striker, and played that quite a bit last season. I think we can play it quite well, so we're always looking and tinkering, but I do think there's sometimes a wrong perception of a team playing only one way, and I'm talking about the top teams. And I think yesterday, at Man City, you make a change. It's not like they're suddenly playing two strikers or change from a back three to a four, things like that. It's a bit more subtle, but there's changes. And I think Aston Villa, they went three at the back when they'd been a four. So there's nothing wrong with having more options, and I think that's important. Sometimes it might be an obvious strength. We want to try and be more consistent. I've said that myself, and I think, in fairness, we probably have been. But you've got to be able to change to, like I say, the opposition on the day. What's happening in the game might be something that you need to change. An obvious, tactical change might cause the opposition no end of issues. So I think you've got to be open-minded to that. So yeah, at the minute I think I've got my kind of preference, and we'll see what happens between now and Friday as well in terms of any players that potentially might come in, and certainly assess the squad and move forward from there.
Speaking of your squad, you welcomed Niall Maher back into the starting lineup on Saturday. How did he come through minus the head knock?
Yeah, I think that's part and parcel of the game, and certainly as a centre half it should be. He's fortunate. He's I think had a few knocks in the past, so he won't be too worried. I wouldn't have thought about his looks. But yeah, he got through the game. Niall never sort of worries me from a fitness point of view. The way that he plays, the position that he plays. I think as long as that injury's okay, from getting through games is never really a concern.
And with Luke Waterfall, as obviously came in his absence as well, you've got three sort of senior centre halves there, throwing Toby Malak as well, who can play there. You've got options, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think we wanted options, and even Mish, I think, can go there as well. You know, that was part of the sort of plan and putting that defence together. So we have got options. I think at the minute, obviously Toby's been as right back, so he's not had an exposure at centre back really, a couple of bits in pre-season, but that was where he played predominantly until really last year. So we know that he can go in there as well. In
terms of tomorrow night, can we expect Otis Khan or Donovan Wilson to be returning?
No, definitely not. They won't be training with us either, certainly before the game. So no, that they'll still be absentees.
And just in terms of what you can expect from Manchester City under-21s, obviously going into league games, you've got the video footage you can see, and you probably have a good guess at what the opposition are going to line up like. Is that the same for a game like this?
Well, we've certainly watched them, the same as anyone else. Played different, and again, so that's interesting straight away. And even in possession, the way that they build play, sometimes that's been different, whether that's opposition, whether that's just them trying to get the players to understand different ways of playing and systems. As you would expect, very, very comfortable in possession, technically very good players, very good athletically, some quick players, and it's not as easy to prepare for, there's no doubt about that. Like I said, we've watched them, we've done the same sort of homework on them, but player-wise, they're not going to be as known as what a lot of the League Two players that we come up against are. And I'm not quite sure. I was looking yesterday, the development sort of squad as it is on if you just look on their website, a lot of the players there are actually gone out on loan. So a lot of the ones that have been playing more recently, at least, are kind of younger end. I think maybe things go in cycles a bit for some of these clubs in terms of a crop of players and their development. So we're not quite sure who will play, but we know that they'll still be very good with the ball.